Hello, Sport.Tobians. Welcome to our AFL Deadline Day special for the trade period. I'm Christopher Chrysostomou, and alongside me we have Daniel Freeman, Nicholas Sacco, and Dylan. 2080 Pythons. Ugh, Brown.
It's been a while since we heard that.
Oh, it gets you pumped up, doesn't it, Brown?
Little bit.
And we have a big show today, or we'll be recapping all of the trades that have happened today, including, well...
We've got Jesse Hogan, Stephen May. He's come back from work, he's got no idea. Jesse Hogan, Stephen May, Lachie, Neale, Chad Wingard. But as of right now, unless something has happened in the last 30 seconds,
absolutely
Shield is still at GWS as we speak. Tim Kelly still at Geelong, and Beams is still at Brisbane. So we have a big hour. Now, before we get into it, if you have a question, please, a question, comment, bagging us, whatever, we don't care.
You know what, SHIT.
Yeah, we'll keep it at that. Directed at 28-inch Pythons over here. He's
Social
on
Brown.
The Facebook. He's all over it. Two phones Brown as we call
Oh, I've got everything, right?
Every tab in the book open, ready for questions.
Going crazy,
He also has the biggest bottle of water we've ever seen. If
You
you've
gotta
got a
say
bigger
hydrated,
bottle-
alright? This is a big show. This is a lot
We
of
would
show
like to
going
thank
on.
Frantelli for
Keep-
the
gotta
sponsor
keep-
of us today. The Quencher. That's also Brown's nickname.
Oh,
The
God.
Quencher.
Oh no.
Alright, we are going to get into it. We are under the last hour. There's currently about 58 minutes left, as you can see from the clock out in front. That's groundbreaking technology there that you're not going to get on NAB AFL Trade Radio.
That's
As are our Chris Main. What are we calling them?
Main or shame?
So we're going to get to those when we wrap up a trade. But look, these are special. Let's just put it like that.
Groundbreaking stuff.
All right, we are going to start with Jesse Hogan, who's probably the biggest piece to fall so far from this trade period. After years of speculation, will he go, won't he go? He is gone. He's heading to Fremantle for a pick 6 and pick 23 for Melbourne. How should they be feeling after that?
Well, I guess it was bound to happen. Jesse Hogan was going to go back to Western Australia sooner or later. And getting pick 6 plus 20...
23. So
23.
6 and 23, Freo receive Hogan, a 4th round pick.
I think that's reasonable because, let's be honest here, what is Hogan... Hogan isn't a top, one of the best...
But he has the potential to be
yeah, but that's the thing, he's got potential, but have we seen it yet?
Well, that
We've seen
might be
pieces.
something we see when he comes to Fremantle, because we've always known that he's somebody that has the potential to be such a superstar player. But I mean, hopefully Freo have learnt now that it's not time to mess around when it comes to the trade. You get the deal done early, and you don't have to go through dismiss. But earlier better than never. But Freo should be happy to have got this done.
Yeah, well, I mean, I said he kicked 44 goals in his first season, 41. He kicked 20 from just 10 games in 2017, which was his injury-interrupted season. Then he kicked 47 goals last year. There's always that he may have walked to them at the end of last season, so it's that question of did you pay a bit overs to get him in? I think, look, you do it because they haven't had a forward since Pavlich. We talked about this last week, and Brownies, he said, like, forwards don't grow on trees. So I think...
the big sharks.
Yeah, the big sharks. I think he has the potential to be a 60-goal-a-year forward, so I reckon you do it, which leads to, well, let's wrap it up, actually. So from a Fremantle perspective, if we liked it, it's going to be good old happy Chris Main after Collingwood beat Richmond in the prelim, and then sad Chris Main after Collingwood lost the grand final. So from a Fremantle perspective, who they've now got their forward after Taberner failed, well, he hasn't failed yet, but Kirsten McCarthy, they've got Hogan. Is it a yay or a nay? Or a main or a nay? Whatever we're going with. I'm going with happy face. Happy face, mate.
Yeah.
Happy face all the way around. From a Melbourne perspective, is the return, which we're going to get to, which is Stephen May, is the return worth it?
Absolutely.
Really?
Stephen May and Kolodjasny, the two players. Kolodjasny showed
disagree.
a lot of potential in his first year at the Gold Coast Suns, and plus Stephen May is the kind of defender that they've needed. They've got Frost and they've got Oscar McDonald, but we saw against Geelong when Tom Hawkins tore him to shreds. They need
Plus Kennedy and Darling.
they need a big body there that can take those forwards.
Yeah.
Plus, what a lot of people haven't mentioned is that Stephen May started his career as a forward, so he can always go back into that forward line whenever it's needed. Got Tom McDonald up forward there with Wiedemann, who showed a lot during the final series.
Yeah. Is it too much? Have they, see, in my opinion, they've jumped the gun and said, yeah, Wiedemann and the Melksham combination McDonald work, but have they jumped the gun just because it worked for a couple of games and they've got rid of a guy who has the potential to be one of the best forwards in the league for a really, really good defender, but he's not top 5 in the league in terms of key defenders.
Oh, well, I mean, if you look at it that way, it's going to be an interesting prospect nonetheless. I still feel like Melbourne have really worked well with May and Kolodjasny, and I love the faith that they've had in Kolodjasny, especially seeing as he's had a bit of an injury run throughout this year, but they're very confident they can bring him back onto the table, and if they are able to do that, their defence might be enough to give their forwards every chance.
And Hogan was going to leave sooner or later.
Well, that's the question.
So they let him
That's
go now, and they get May, and they also get Kolodjasny. If they did this deal next year, I doubt that they'll be able to get those.
Well, he
two.
could have walked. He's contracted till the end of next year, so he
Yeah,
could have
Hogan
just
or May.
walked Hogan. So 1 year left on that contract. I think for Melbourne, it's a case of, are they better as a team from what they've done this trade period? I would say no, because I think Hogan's a far superior player to May. Are they closer to winning a premiership? Probably yes. Because we saw last year, Melbourne in terms of if we're ranking average points scored, Melbourne had the best forward line or best offence in the league. Their defence was 9th. So that's the trade-off. It's kind of, you rob Peter to pay Paul. It's that trade-off of, yes, we've got rid of something that, I think, in my opinion, Hogan should have been one of their untouchables, but obviously not. But you've got rid of one of your really good players to bring in a player who's going to help an area that you struggle in. So credit for them going for it. They think they're in their window. So
we talk about how Hogan was such a pillar for them last season, but he didn't play in their final series.
Yeah.
And they showed a lot in that final series.
They did.
Would they have played the same if Jesse Hogan was in the team?
It's a good question. I mean, it's depending on how centric they went to him, if they were going to rely on him to take more marks. I feel like in different stages of the final series, they showed that their forward line can stack it up against the pressure. It's whether the experience comes with that, and that's why I reckon, even though May hasn't had finals experience to say, he's had experience dealing with the big shows, the big guys around him. So it'll be interesting to see.
It'd be interesting to see how that prelim would have gone if they had May to go up against Darling County. I know they got absolutely destroyed, so we're not going to say it would have impacted in terms of change the score. But I mean, their forward line did function well. It's a lot of pressure on Wiedemann. It's a lot of pressure on a kid who showed a lot, but he's got a long way to go. It was just a very impressive couple of games. I personally think they've overreacted a little bit, but for Stephen May, for Melbourne, for the need it fills, I think it's definitely a main for me. Definitely, are we agreed on that one?
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I think they paid overs, but they got it. And Kolodjasny as well. I mean, he was top 2 in the Suns' best and fairest in 2015. He's kind of fallen off a bit since then, but he still has a lot of talent, and especially might allow Salem as well to move up the ground a bit. So, I don't know. And losing Tyson and Kent as well, it gives them a bit more depth as an extra player.
Well, who would you rather have playing in that position, Jordan Lewis, or would you rather have Kolodjasny playing that half-back role?
Kolodjasny. Yeah.
Right now, yeah.
It's a great pick-up. It's someone that I don't think any of us expected them to pick up.
Considering
there was no talk about it.
No. Well, there was a little bit, but in terms of really, they hate the term steak knives, but he was the steak knives, and we saw what Chris did and how good he's been. So maybe Collins.
Well, they got rid of one player. They get 2 players plus a pick 6. So I think that's a great deal for Melbourne.
Well, they lost the pick 6 to get.
Oh, well, they did, but it's still 2 players for that pick 6.
It's a big call. In all credit to Melbourne, whatever way you agree with it, they think they're in their premiership window and they're going for it, which is a good thing because it's better than a club who's in the window sitting there and not going for it. It's better to just, roll the dice and see where it goes.
We are hearing from
from
Sam McClure that Essendon have officially pulled out of the race for Dylan Shield. Apparently, the door
He's getting so excited right now. Wait a second.
They've refused the 2 first-round picks that they've offered them, and according to Sam McClure, it means Essendon are out of the race, and Carlton are in prime position now to bring Dylan Shield to the Blues.
Could be happening.
What?
Could be going to Carlton.
No way.
The steal of the century could be among us right
Could be
now.
among us.
That's all right.
By God.
All right,
And
well,
before the show, let me just say, Chris said that Carlton have no chance in hell of getting the Shield. I'll just put that out there.
I'm going to put a dare. Lucky I didn't make it there.
if they give up pick number 1, all right. Well, we are going to keep an eye on that. That's for sure.
Actually, before we do move on,
Yep.
Nick, why don't you tell us what you will do once there is a trade? What is that light there that you've got?
Wow.
What did this go like?
Unbelievable invention. This one. So,
Groundbreaking technology.
don't know if you guys can see this shining little light over here. I mean, if something big happens, it's amazing because you've got so many different colour settings as well. It could be really bluish.
Oh my gosh.
So I reckon we go. If he goes to Carlton, we put the blue line.
There we go.
If he
There's
goes, if he somehow goes to Essendon, we got the red.
We got the red.
But
If he stays,
there's the red.
Braden, if you're watching, well, we're sorry for your loss. So
If he stays at GWS, we've got a neutral green.
We've got a neutral one as well if he stays.
So any inquiries, let us know.
Let us know. We'll
If you would like to buy that off us, it is going for 2,500.
Honestly, it is a mystery how we are still unemployed. I don't quite know how we're not with groundbreaking technology and ideas like this. All right, moving on from Jesse Hogan and Stephen May to Lachie Neale, who is on his way to Brisbane in exchange for pick 6, pick 19, and pick 55. I think this Neale probably falls under the radar a little bit because of how good Fife is, and Fife's clearly their best player. But Neale was one of only 7 players last year to average over 30 touches in the league, was 7th in the league in average contested possessions, and 5th in average clearances. He's won 2 best and fairest at the Dockers now. Admittedly, those 2 were when Fife was injured, but at the same time, he is a genuine gun, and especially if they keep Beams as well, pair him with Berry, McCluggage, Rayner, Witherden, that is a huge pickup.
Yeah, Brisbane have really built something here, and a lot of other teams should be a little bit worried about what they have. Neale is such a quality player, and I feel like he's just going to bring so much depth and experience to that Brisbane side, on top of what they've already got in terms of talent. Even if Beams does end up leaving at the end of the trade period, I still feel like Neale would be a suitable replacement.
Yeah, and the other thing is, you got Zorko in there as well, but he's 25, so he's in that age bracket they want. He's still going to be there when these young guys are hitting their prime.
Well, if you were Brisbane, who would you rather have? Say Beams does leave.
Neale. Because Beams is 29, and Neale, in my opinion, is a little bit better than Beams. Beams is a brilliant player, but I think Neale's a little bit better and 4 years younger. So I think if they do lose Beams, it's still a net win. And on top of that, they're starting to become a club that players want to go to. I know Beams is leaving, but I think the circumstances around that are a little bit different. But it's still a huge positive for them that they're now at a place where they can say, we're not losing players running out the door left, right and centre. We're actually attracting players to come to us. And not just attracting players, you're attracting genuine guns.
And also you see that with Marcus Adams. There was a lot of talk about him wanting to go back to Western Australia. And now he wants to go to Brisbane. Yeah. So that just shows that even these players that suggest that they want to go back home, they do want to go to the Brisbane Lions as well.
Yeah. I mean, for Brisbane, it's a huge tick. I think the rating for that one across the board from a Brisbane perspective,
massive.
Definitely happy. Brownie, to interrupt you checking your Facebook there.
I've got tabs all over the place. I'm going crazy.
Brownie, from a Freo perspective, they played hardball, but do you think with 6, 19 and 55, they got a fair return for Lachie Neale?
Yeah, I agree. I reckon it's tough to let him go, but
it hurts. But to get pick 6,
I get Jesse Hogan for it.
Which turns into Jesse Hogan, which we've talked about. Would you prefer that key forward or the midfielder? I think you go that key forward.
Yeah, it's time for Fremantle to shape up their tactics. I think Ross Lyon's defensive works aren't really doing much for them anymore, and if Jesse Hogan can be a prominent target for him, he'll start to deliver that ball inside 50 much more often.
And the thing is, they never lost a pick for him. Well, they never lost. They get that pick 6 was the same pick that they traded to Port Adelaide.
Yeah, to get when they switched it around. Yeah.
In exchange, so they've basically got their pick 6 back, and they've done the deal.
Yep.
To get to Lachie Neale to go, but to get Jesse Hogan as well.
Yep. Sticking on Fremantle as we just talked on with Neale, they've landed Hogan, but they've also landed Lobb. So Lobb will join Fremantle for 14, 43 and 47. The Giants get 2 first-round picks, so pick 11 and 19. I think from a Giants perspective to start with, that's a good scoop. Rory Lobb is a good player, but 11 and 19 is a pretty good scoop. Do we have big news?
There's a scoop there.
According to Mick Warner from Herald Sun, he says that Carlton's future first-round pick has been offered to GWS for Shield, but it's not this year's.
Yeah, so that's what we talked about. We talked about that last week when we said, do Carlton risk it? Give them the future instead of pick 1 this year, so they still get Sam Walsh, who's most likely going to be pick number 1, and then bank on with Kernau and Fasolo and Shield that they win a few more games, and next year it's pick 5, which I reckon GWS would take that.
What happens out of nowhere?
Gets 9.
But what happens out of nowhere? Carlton finish ninth or they finish in the top 8. How, in a
all
miraculous
honesty,
way.
In all honesty, is that going to happen?
It could happen.
Do you think their pick's going to be above 5?
Oh, it's probably a risk they're willing
Did
to
we
take.
expect the Bulldogs to make the finals in Luke Beveridge's first year?
No, but this is Carlton.
It could happen.
Sorry,
we don't know.
It could.
You don't know what could happen.
It's
could,
risky.
but,
It's
okay,
risky for
would you
GWS to
prefer,
do it.
From GWS's perspective, would you prefer pick 9 from Essendon, which is going to be their starting point, or Carlton's pick next year? What's your bet that's going to be higher?
You'd
I'd
take
take
Carlton's
Carlton's pick.
Personally, I would rather get a pick now than wait for the following year because we don't know what's going
But
to
if
happen
it's the
in the
best
future.
offer you can get, do you just? I think.
I'd just give it to get the Essendon pick. I wouldn't go for the Carlton one. I'd rather get it done now and then after that pick because this
I
draft.
just think that Carlton pick could be top
But this
3.
draft is probably better than the draft next
I know,
year.
but if you get a top 3, you're still going to get a
If
quality
you get a top
player.
If you get a ninth pick this year, it's better than what it is next year. It could be.
It could be.
Say it's pick 7 next year,
I'd still take pick 7.
even though this draft has more depth.
Yeah, I still think at pick 7 you're going to get a very good player.
Yeah, but you can get a good player pick 9
Does
in
it-
this year's draft.
Just
Yeah,
guarantee, depending on the number, doesn't
Yeah.
guarantee you're going to get a star player.
No.
It's all dependent on
Yeah, it
list
does.
managers and whatnot, because
Alright.
there's been many flops high up in the draft.
Carlton would know about that.
exactly. Brownie's heart rate has gone through the roof. We need him to choose. He got
He's
his
got
heart rate monitor
He's
on.
got your heart rate now, bro.
Give us an update.
An update on the heart rate.
Update on the heart rate when he eventually
Let it-
gets there.
It's sitting at 88 right
Oh,
now.
gee whiz, he's not that excited. All right,
No.
come on, Carlton, do
It's-
something. All right, so we were just touching on Lobb. Now, obviously, I think this is a big win for Freo because Sandilands is A, 35 years old, B, he is also entering his 17th season, and in the last 3 years, he hasn't managed more than 11 games once. So they need that ruckman. We've seen them try Sean Darcy. I don't know if he's going to be that answer for them. But Lobb has said he doesn't want to play. He wants to play forward.
It's a curious one for me, and especially with the signing of Hogan as well. It's interesting to see what they're going to do with Lobb because on one end, yes, it'd be great to have him as a ruckman because it really helps their stocks with Sandilands probably retiring the next couple of years as well. But at the same token, having him in the forward line is also a pretty big win for him. He's a strong, tall marking forward, and he's very capable of playing that role. And then when you look at it on GWS's sense, their ruck stocks are looking very, very limited now.
Yeah.
And they've still got Sean Darcy.
The mummifier needs to come back for
Sean-
GWS, but Sean Darcy
He's a really good
promising.
ruckman.
Yeah.
I know that most of last year he was out injured, but the year before, his first year, he showed a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
And I really rate him. So they've got Sean Darcy plus Rory Lobb. I think he'll play...
I think it works with Hogan because he gets the pinch hit forward.
Yeah, he can play forward, he can play ruck with Hogan. The interesting part about this is now what happens to Cam McCarthy.
Well, surely this is it. He's came in as, can you be our number 1 forward? Clearly not. He's now going to be clear number 2. There's also Taberner who'll be gunning for that number 2 spot, and if Lobb pinch hits as well, this is his chance. He's not going to have the number 1 defender. He's not going to have the pressure. Hogan is going to be the centre of attention every game. So this is his chance to show us if he can actually, deliver on the talent.
And do you think
He's got the raw talent.
Hogan at Fremantle will play the same role as he did at Melbourne, play further up the field, more of a centre-half forward, or do you think he'll just stay in that forward line?
Oh no, I feel like a centre-half forward role could definitely suit him. I feel like it would be a great opportunity for him to try it out, but nothing would be permanent for him. They'll give him some time as they go on.
Yep. Alrighty, Brandon, go to our Facebook. Do we have some updates?
Do we have
got a
any
few.
questions?
We got one from Jed, nice and quick. Jed, who obviously can't be with us today, which is shattered.
He hasn't passed
Jed.
away.
No, he hasn't passed away.
Oh my God! You've
It went dark, it went
Just
dark.
not with us for this episode.
He's not dead.
You nice and quick. Should the Suns, going back to Stephen May, we're jumping a bit, but should the Suns have held on to Stephen May in the hopes of landing a top 3 compensation pick for him next year, so banking on the Suns being towards the bottom again, he walks, or do you just want to clear everything out and go again, considering you now got 2, 3, and 6 in the draft?
Yeah, no, I've got to go again. And with this draft being as good as everyone says it is, why wouldn't you have picks 2, 3, and 6 to really rebuild your list? And as Gold Coast have been saying all day, to rebuild a culture.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why you wouldn't do it is because those picks will probably leave in 2 years. And I'm not saying that as a...
Well, we
to
saw
take
as
fun
well,
of it, but it's true. These players leave the Gold Coast Suns.
not just that, but they talked about, so the main ones that Gold Coast are interested, Sam Walsh is likely to go 1, but Rankin and Lachocious, who are 2 South Australians expected to be amazing, are expected to go 2 and 3. They had, when they did a trade radio talk show, and one of the, I can't remember if it was Port Adelaide or Adelaide, but one of the members from their team basically said, in 2 years' time we're looking at poaching them, which is came out and apologised. But that's the truth. That's what they view this club as. Yeah. Everybody, you just wait 2 years and then poach them.
Are we going to talk about later on? Are we going to talk about players moving back to their home states, or can I just ask you a question now?
Yeah, go for it. Oh, hello, Conto. Thanks for watching.
Hello, Conto.
Also, Andrew Dilzo, the TV reporter. Yeah, Dilzo over here's got it on lockdown. Except for where's the Facebook page?
I've got tabs everywhere. It's gone crazy. You want to look at the tabs. Look at the tabs. I'm all over the shop.
Damn John Watts. Blues getting Shield and Toronto for pick number 1. Gee whiz, if that happens, that will be absolutely massive.
Anything on Twitter, Brown?
Any updates on the Twitter? Okay, Brownie.
I can't keep up.
Brownie needs to simplify his tabs a little bit. He's got way too many tabs.
No, but a question I wanted to ask you guys is, with the players leaving clubs that they picked by in the draft and returning back to their home, do we need to make drafts for players in those states? So how the AFLW is where Western Australian teams can only pick Western Australian players.
So go back to zoning.
Well, not zoning, but have the draft for those certain groups, because we've seen so many now. These players are returning back home. The draft was implemented to allow teams the opportunity to get the best players, but it's not working because teams are Gold Coast Suns are losing all the players that they're picking up from Victoria, Western Australia, Adelaide.
I think the problem is they need to. Right now, it's not working, but if you get them embedded, and it's going to take a long time, especially we don't know if Gold Coast is ever going to work, but if you get to a point where it's like a South Australian club or a Western Australian club or a Sydney or something where there's a chance of success, the problem is, well, we keep banging on about it, but this is the simple fact. If you're a non-Victorian club, you have to be able to sell a premiership, or they live there and they want to stay there because it's their home state. Otherwise, unfortunately, players want to come to the Victorian bubble because, they're the big hotshots. Yeah. So Gold Coast, they can't sell a premiership. Their best player is like Alex Sexton. Name a better player than Alex Sexton.
This is a G-rated
Jared Harmbrow, like Fiorini.
Riscatelli.
Is he? Yeah, well, Drew's retired apparently, but not retired at the same time.
Jared Brennan.
Oh,
Carmichael.
Look,
bring out Josh Fraser.
This is the problem. You have to be able to sell.
Nathan Bock. Where are you, Nathan Bock?
We need you right now.
Can you call in? We've got the phone here. We would like to know where you are, Nathan Bock.
And they have players like Jared Lyons, but won't play him. We're not getting into the debate with the Suns. Look, I think
you've got to feel for Stuart Jew.
In an ideal, he's going to play next year. In an ideal way, he's going to be full forward captain and coach.
Bring him in.
Who else?
Throw back to the
you win the BNF.
The old days where you're captain and coach.
He might even be their mascot.
He does
everything.
Look, maybe the idea and principle works, but I think overall it's not fair to just say because you're from that state you have to go there. But no, it's a decent idea, but I'm giving it a sad Chris May face, unfortunately.
That's my
vote twice. Sorry, I stole your table tennis, but don't hit me, please. All right, moving on. We've got no latest trades, Brownie. Have we got it down to 2 tabs so we can manage
I'm using the phone as well
now.
I'm being a bit smarter.
I'm
getting better as time goes on.
We're getting there. We're a bit rusty for the first 23 minutes, but now we're
getting there. We're making progress.
All right, so Hogan, May, and Neale we have covered. We're now moving on to Chadley Wingard, who is at Hawthorn. We talked about it last week that Chad was he put up as kind of a kick up the backside or a wake up call? Well, turns out he's not, because Chad is gone. He was All-Australian, obviously 2-time All-Australian, but has fallen off in recent seasons, and he is now on the Hawks. It's a bit complicated, but Hawthorn get Chad Wingard and a future 3rd-round pick. Portland, Ryan Burton, Sam Mays, who Lions player. Pick 5, pick 15, and a future 4th. So for Port Adelaide's perspective, they move up the draft closer to those South Australian talent that they want. Brisbane get pick 6, 35, and a future 3rd-round pick. Chad Wingard, Hawthorn's clearly with their moves, obviously we'll get to Scully later, but with Chad Wingard, Ryan Burton was 2nd in the Rising Star in 2017. Bit of a drop-off last year, but he's still one of the most promising under-22 players in the league. Is it worth it to give up him and your 1st-round pick for Chad Wingard?
Well, there are very concerned and disappointed Hawthorn supporters. I can guarantee you that. It's got a bit of Trent Croad about it when he went over the Fremantle.
And then they got him back.
Exactly right, so who knows. But no, Ryan Burton's a very talented player, and I'm sure he's got a lot of potential that will help him become a very solid player in the competition in the years to come. But he is an Adelaide boy, and we even saw on his Instagram post as he got traded about him and the little kid in his Port Adelaide jumper saying that he was happy to be back.
At the same time, he just signed with the Hawks.
He was devastated. He was shocked and devastated when
I don't think he would have been one that would have just gone home for home factor. He seemed pretty good.
It would have all been a Hawthorn deal because they did ring him up at...
It came out of the blue. He wasn't expecting it. So from a Hawthorn perspective, in my perspective, I don't think that adding Wingard, Scully we're going to get to is a huge if based off that injury. Adding Wingard necessarily, and Scrimshaw, of course, takes you... Because last year, I thought we got the best 4 teams in the prelim finals, I think. And even heading into next year, I think West Coast, Richmond, maybe you could throw GWS in there, but Melbourne and Collingwood. I didn't think Hawthorn really deserved that top 4 finish. Feel free to disagree and tell me in the comments that I've got no idea what I'm talking about. But in my opinion, they weren't a top 4 team. I don't think adding Wingard really takes them closer.
I think the issue with Hawthorn is I think they can have as many talented players as they want in the team. The problem is they don't have that leadership there. And that's the one issue with Hawthorn. We've mentioned it on the show previously on our podcast. They've got Gunston and Bruce in their leadership group, and they're 2 complementary players. They're not out-and-out leaders. Last season, 2017, Luke Bruce went on radio and said he's not a natural leader, and he had to work on becoming a leader. That's the problem at Hawthorn now. There's a lot of reliance...
Obviously with Mitchell, Hodge, Lewis...
there's a lot of reliance on Rufford, but I don't even see Rufford as that out-and-out leader as Hodge and Mitchell were, and that's the one reason why. That they won't be, in my opinion, winning the premiership.
Well, do you agree with Mike Sheen, what he said about Hawthorn, that they should probably stop topping up players and start to rebuild their own list, which was a very controversial comment.
What we have to realise with Hawthorn is they're not a club, they're a business, and they do everything as a business. They're a team that...
This is not...
This is all me.
All Chris.
They are a team where all their fans are members. That's what they rely on. They need success. They've had it with the... the reason why they've
success.
That's why they need to retain that success. In the 80s, the success is what has led to them having a massive membership tally right now. Yeah. They didn't have that success. That would be another North Melbourne.
Yeah, but I mean the success. So you disagree though?
Oh, I don't really disagree to say. I don't really know if their sole purpose is to run it as a business. I mean, we've seen at times when they haven't been so well that they've been able. Take 1996 for example. I feel like they really did well in that. I don't want to really go into all the stuff there. But look, I feel like. It's interesting to see with Wingard. I've always been surprised by that trade. I'm not sure if he's going to get his form back, but if anyone can turn him around, it's class. So,
I mean, he has so much talent, but we've talked about it. His goal kicking has dropped off. He's spent more time forward. He's spent more time in the midfield. His numbers have gone up by about 2 to 3 possessions compared to that season where he kicked 53 goals.
You would expect his numbers to go up if he's playing midfield.
But what I'm saying, so his numbers have gone up that way, but his goal kicking has just fallen off a cliff down to 24 and 22. I don't think it's worth it. I think he is a match-winning forward with X Factor written all over him. I don't think you waste that.
If you've got a player that can kick 50 goals a year, why would you put him in the midfield?
Exactly. In that season he kicked 50 goals. We were comparing him to Eddie Betts. He was at that same level of small forward, and I just think you're wasting him if you use him in that midfield. There's so many other players that could be. We saw guys like Redden for West Coast come in. They're not flair players. They don't have super X Factor talent, but they can just win the ball. That's all you need.
I
save the talent.
Alistair Clarkson a few years back said that the one player that he would love to coach in the AFL is Chad Wingard. So I think Wingard will be playing in his preferred position, and I think that's what Alistair Clarkson brought him to Hawthorn to do. And he's also there to replace Cyril Rioli, because that's one area of the field that they needed to find someone to replace Rioli with.
Lack that.
And that's why I think Burton, it is a loss because we know he's got a lot of talent, but they do have players that can play that position.
Well, we saw the emergence of Stratton as well last year, is similar.
And Hardwick as well, and they've got those players there.
Just quickly, guys, as well, we've talked a bit about Marcus Adams as well, about his trade. I can confirm from the AFL Trade Radio Twitter that both Bulldogs and Brisbane are in the trade room as we speak, dealing that trade. So that might be the next trade that gets done. No confirmation yet. We'll tell you as it comes.
That's interesting as well, because there was a lot of talk about a three-way trade between Collingwood, Brisbane and Bulldogs involving Roughhead, Adams, Beams, and obviously the picks going back to Brisbane. So we'll have to see how that one goes out. But I think for Wingard, look, I honestly think Port won this because they managed to move up from pick 6 to pick 5. They probably want, like I said, Lukosius and Rankin are probably going to be gone by pick 5, but there's still, I'll probably say this wrong, but Connor Rossi as well, who's another South Australian talent.
These South Australians and these weird names.
Rossi, but he's another one who's probably going to be there at pick 5, and he's an incredible talent, so that's one that they moved up there. They also got 15. They get Burton. Yes, they lose Wingard, which is a big risk, but I don't know. I like it from a Port perspective. I give it a happy Chris May. Agreeing or disagreeing from Port?
I think Port has won this trade period.
Yeah. Really?
I think
it's a bit cool.
At the moment, still trade to go.
Last year,
Shield.
That's it. If Carlton gets Shield, then they've won the trade period.
Which talk about Shield update.
No.
Neither Carlton nor Essendon's offers at the moment are good enough to get the deal done.
No.
Currently,
this is going to come down.
So this is going to be our last minute.
It's funny how they're playing hardball for Shield, but they didn't play hardball for Scully. They allowed him to go for.
Well, we're going to get to Scully right now, but that's keep going.
But what was I talking about?
You were talking about
Port Adelaide, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're talking about Port Adelaide.
Last year they traded or they recruited players for them now. Tom Rockcliffe, even Trent McKenzie, Jimmy Toumpas was still on the list. Yeah. I think they realised that their list is not good enough to win a premiership, and now they're trading out those players and they're getting draft picks in, which they need. And I think that's going to.
Last year was a big mistake. In hindsight, this year that's a lot more.
Most of their players are between 28 and 30. Travis Bogue. Yeah.
Well, we talked about their window was coming up pretty quick.
Even Charlie Dixon's around 27 now. So I think the best thing for Port Adelaide is to go back to the draft and recruit those South Australians and plan for maybe the next 3 years' time instead of now.
Yep, exactly. I think it's a good move.
Looks as if... Is that the deal? Get the light going.
The Dane Beams. Dane Beams. What have you got, Chris? Because I haven't got Dane Beams.
Well, Dane Beams will join. Doesn't say what the deal is. Oh, Brownie, come on, hit us with it.
No, I haven't got
it. Yes.
Real Footy is saying Dane Beams is going back to Collingwood for 2 first-round picks.
Okay, and on top of that, Marcus Adams has been traded from the Bulldogs to the Brisbane Lions for pick 32 and a 2019 third rounder.
Start with Adams because that's definitely confirmed.
Yeah,
so
there's
your blue and red.
So Marcus Adams and Beams has been traded for 2 first-round picks with a little draft return coming back to Collingwood, which will be interesting because Collingwood as well, they need picks to probably match. They've got academy player Isaac Quainer and father-son Will Kelly, so I'd say those picks coming back would be so they can match if there's a bid for that ridiculously complicated.
Can anyone explain the
we
point
tried
system?
last week and we
I'm
didn't
not
get
going to
it.
bother.
But I think that's what those picks will be. All right. Well, we will leave the Beams a little bit till we get exactly if it's a. I'm guessing it's a future first
Adams
round.
is definitely done.
Yeah,
so
Adams is done.
That.
So Adams, obviously, as we said, there was a lot of talk about going home to Western Australia. Has gone to Brisbane. It's another good pickup. I mean, he's been injury prone, had a lot of injuries, but they gave up. What was the final deal?
So it was pick 32 Brisbane Lions, and then they got 2019's future third round selections, and that was on traded from Gold
Happy
Coast.
Chris Main face for Brisbane all around.
And it takes the pressure off Harris Andrews as well in defence.
Yeah, it takes a little bit. I mean, Harris Andrews is still going to be the star, but it gives him, I think Marcus Adams is a decent defender if he can stay healthy. That's the big question. Yeah, he probably does, which is quite.
Brown, how much do you bench press?
Alright, that's why we brought you. You can ask silly questions.
This is a gym live feed to talk about gym.
I'm just trying to get you involved, Brown. You're too busy fixated on the screen. Watching yourself.
He's just checking himself out over here. Alright, Brownie.
I was told to do this. to check.
Brownie, this is your job. Alright, we don't have any confirmation yet on Beams on the exact.
At this stage.
Someone check his Instagram.
Someone check.
He's pretty quick on
his Instagram. Alright, well, we're going to wait for that.
Does that make a premiership favourites?
We'll talk about that in a second.
Does that make Collingwood premiership favourites?
No, definitely not.
Is it flag-wise?
We will talk about that in a second. But now, Lachie Neale is done. Dane Beamseen's done. Jesse Hogan is done. Stephen May's done. Dylan Shield is not done as we approach
Waiting.
25 minutes left in
You know
the
where he's
trade
going.
period.
Richmond. I'm telling you.
Out of
That,
nowhere.
That would be out of
Neil
nowhere.
Balm walked into Marvel
He did.
Stadium.
I just reckon he's trolling.
I reckon
Just
I reckon
for a
Shield's
troll.
going to
Gold
Richmond.
Coast pick 3.
He's
I think he's just milking
I
up
reckon-
the attention.
Gold Coast
Hang on, hang on, hang on.
85.
Shield. Hang on, this is a great deal. Shield
Okay.
for Connor Menadue and Ivan
Right.
Soldo.
Chad
Ruckman
Wingard.
and a runner, which is what they need.
Chad Wingard has gone to, as we mentioned, to the Hawks with Brian Burton going back to Port Adelaide.
Well, he
We
never was
talked
there.
on Neale, well, true, he was never there, but now he's going there.
Go
for
back
the
to South
first time.
Australia.
Yeah, Rory Lobb, as we said, has landed in GWS. Tim Kelly is the other one, which, look, not a betting person, but if I was, I would say that is not going to happen.
Big news. NAB AFL Trade Radio, done deal. Dylan Shield to Carlton for a
Oh
third
my
round pick
boy.
and a future first round pick.
Oh,
NAB AFL Trade Radio is confirming this.
Do it,
Is
on
this
their
a
Twitter.
confirm?
Do it, Brown.
NAB AFL Trade Radio.
oh my god.
What has happened?
Oh,
Get the
no.
alarm
Oh,
in.
Essendon. Oh,
That is
Oh.
still the section.
Wait a second, no.
No.
Tom Morris just tweeted Dylan Shield will play for Essendon next year.
Well,
What?
It's a battle of the journalists.
What is going
They
on?
don't know.
Nobody knows.
Let me get my sources.
He's played for both teams.
He's going to play for everyone. He's going to play.
He's gonna
He's
play
playing 2 games a week.
wait.
Let's calm down a bit.
NAB AFL Trade Radio, which I just said before, had announced that he's gone to Carlton, have just deleted their tweets.
Oh,
no. Oh no.
We both
the alarm.
And also, according to Fairfax, the Brisbane Beams Collingwood deal is done, but obviously we still can't get confirmation until we hear from AFL Radio, but obviously it's just all gone in the space of a minute.
So
Absolute chaotic.
Are they trolling everyone?
Well,
what the hell is going on here?
The
Basically,
Bombers have offered pick 9 for Shield, as we know. It looks like they've also now offered a 2019 first round pick, which was the sticking point. So if they've done that, but they want a high pick from the GWS, like a 2019 second rounder back. So that was obviously a mistake.
well, sorry for
tweet.
the Carlton fans
Yeah,
getting
look, we're
excited.
sorry for
Conto, we're sorry.
Conto, don't kill us.
You can blame
Conto, tell us
AFL.
how you're feeling.
You can blame AFL Trade Radio. Their Twitter was up and
Yeah,
down.
That's why you listen to us and not AFL Trade
No,
Radio.
exactly.
You don't want to
We
listen
have
to them. because
no
they do
idea
not
what
know.
they're talking about.
But if they do want to give us a job, especially me, if they want to give me a job, I'm willing
Oh,
to take that job.
and they've put it back up again. Dylan Shield has been traded to Carlton for a third round pick and a 2019
What is
first
going
round pick.
don't know,
They've
they're
made it again.
Don't do it again.
Oh no, that was going on.
Okay, it's gone absolutely mental.
I don't know what's going on.
no.
This is
They've
great.
just got to stop.
They're just-
I don't think anyone
They're
knows where
just
Shield's
trolling
going.
all the fans. I
Where
think they're
is
just
Shield?
taking the absolute piece.
Alright, we're just
Oh
going to
my
leave
goodness.
Shield. We're going to leave him for
Just
5
let-
minutes and come back and hopefully someone's got something concrete. Because right now, that is, that's completely confusing.
We're losing our mind.
Alright, we are going to go to Tom Scully, who in all of this has somehow a long while ago he's joined Hawthorn for a future.
Who cares about that? Let's go back to Shield. Everyone's so
It's the Shield stream.
How can that happen?
I can't believe that. He's gone from he's going to Essendon, then it's backtracked. Oh no, he's going to Carlton, then backtracked. Now he's going back to Essendon, and now it's
Then
nothing.
Melbourne Storm, then Hawthorn, then Richmond. Now nowhere.
Telling you, you're going to play for Coburg.
Well, this has gone
Alright.
absolute. Sam McClure is saying the Shield to Essendon has been done.
So it's going to breaking. Dylan Shield is an Essendon player. That's by NAB AFL Trade
Yeah.
Radio.
So they've
So they put the
They
wrong
stuffed
tweet
up.
out.
Tweet deck.
Tweet that has stuffed up. Brownie is
What is
completely.
going on?
Well,
I'm gonna
play with your emotions.
they have teased you, Brown.
That was a.
They have
Shield
absolutely teased
We'll
you.
join Essendon with just over 20 minutes left. It's confirmed. We don't know what for yet.
I reckon it was a tug of war. He was in the
That
middle, they were
seems
pulling out his
ridiculous.
arms. Whoever got into their side,
that's
he's going.
crazy. Oh, whoever's doing Twitter accounts at that AFL Trade Radio needs
Yeah,
to.
because I
Someone
saw
jumped
they
the gun.
accident. They have jumped the gun big time. So sorry about that for
Alright.
breaking news.
Let's
We'll
get
take
back
it
to.
back.
Oh,
No,
Tom Scully.
Yeah, Tom Scully. Tom Scully. We'll
Another
quickly touch
GWS
on
player.
Scully because I just want to wait and see. I want
Yeah.
to see what Shield or what the deal's done for yet, which it's not up.
Nothing.
Keep going.
Not up
Scully.
yet. Scully.
Like you
So
said.
Scully, this was a huge talking point a couple of days ago because Scully has joined the Hawks for a future 4th round pick. Now, this is a guy who made the All-Australian squad of 40, so not the final team, but the squad of 40 in 2016 and 2017. He's finished top 3 in the Giants' best and fairest twice. He is a genuinely, I don't know if he's gun, but he's really, really close.
Top 5 running players in the competition.
Yeah, for sure, and an elite midfielder. And he's gone for a future 4th round pick. Now, the big question is, it was actually believed that it was originally going to be a 1st round pick, but after they did the medical, they both agreed that it would be a 4th round pick. Now, Scully's injury, obviously we know it happened round 2, so that it was against, I think it was against Collingwood. Yeah, round 2 against Collingwood, where he had that ankle fracture, but he also has syndesmosis as well. So, on top of the ankle fracture, also the syndesmosis, which is very similar to the Dane Swan injury.
Yeah.
Which obviously Swanee was a lot further on in his career, but it did end his career. So it was originally 12 to 16 weeks. Brandon, you got something there for us? Or?
No, nothing.
All right. So originally 12 to 16 weeks, and then after that he tried to come back, but then he was forced to have surgery again, so he had extra surgery. It's been 7, so the ankle again. It's been 7 to 8 weeks since that surgery, and he's still not even jogging yet. So there's no guarantee that he plays next season. There's no guarantee he gets back to anywhere near his best. But for a future 4th round pick, I mean...
Sounds a lot like Jago O'Meara.
Yeah, well, we saw Hawks have done it with Burgoyne. Remember, Burgoyne was a basket case with injuries, and they've turned him into...
Well, but the one issue is now that their fitness guru has gone to Carlton.
Yep. But
it's probably a bigger steal.
But it's still Hawthorn, so they've probably still got someone there.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a great deal for Hawthorn. Tom Scully, former number 1 draft pick, plus we know he's one of the best running midfielders in the competition for a 4th round selection. That's what you take.
Yeah, it is a bit strange because apparently St Kilda got involved and offered like a future 2nd round pick or something, but it wasn't taken. So he obviously wanted to get to Hawthorn, and they were okay with that. Again, from a Hawthorn perspective, if he comes back healthy, it is a huge tick. So yeah, a tick for Hawthorn. Happy main face for sure. Yeah. Scully, I think as well, it's a little bit of their cap space, even though I'm pretty sure his deal was front-ended, so it's not that much.
They've got about $2 million in the cap now.
Yeah, which is obviously what they want to clear it, because next year, as we talked about, they got Kelly and Caniglia and also Haynes as well, which that's where they want to spend their money on.
Oh, what do they call them again? Is it the stayers or something they call them? The ones that you build your house around because... they're the players.
I don't know where you're going.
That's what they were calling them, because they're the players that they ideally will stay at the club, whereas Shield was always bound to return back to Victoria.
Yeah. A couple of other things. We're now hearing from Super Footy that Shield has gone to Essendon, so it's just about done.
I think it was a mistake.
I think that was
a bit of a stuff up.
Again, Brownie, I'm feeling for you. We know how important that was. And
gee, it's almost like Collingwood's grand final.
Here we go. Well done.
All right.
And just another one quickly. Collingwood and Bulldogs have re-entered the trade room,
which is
going to be Roughhead.
Now the thing
free agent.
No, because they left him to be... They didn't take him as a free agent because then they lose the pick for Fasolo. Which we are going to get to the Fazzy Boy. I think it's late 30s. Because I got some stats for you about the Fazzy Boy. Don't fear about missing out on Shield. I found the new Brendan Favola. So, right now there is currently 17 minutes left. Beams is still at Brisbane. Tim Kelly is still at Geelong. There's still a few others to go down. There was rumours what you were saying that Beams is done, but it's not official.
Well, yeah, we're hearing a few different.
But we're not saying anything anymore.
We
just said that
we're not going to
got Shield, and it turns out he doesn't.
We're not going to.
Not our fault.
Well, just as I say that, AFL House trade paperwork officially lodged. Western Bulldogs trade Jordan Rufford to Collingwood for pick 75 in this year's draft. So no, it wasn't Beams. But Jordan Rufford is now a Collingwood man. So
that's another good deal for a premiership ruckman who could play back
defence. Obviously, defence is where they're going to use him. So for sure, that's a good pickup, as well as they obviously re-sign Moore and Langdon.
Get that light going, Nick.
Are we really doing that?
What have we got? So Jordan Rufford. So we got the blue coming here. So because that's where he was, but yeah.
Alrighty, so as we said, as of right now, 16 minutes left, and remember, they don't actually have to have done the deal by 8:30. The paperwork just has to be lodged. So there's that always it could go just after. So we've covered all the main players. We're going to go through some of these ones a bit quicker to wrap up some of the moves since our last episode. Aaron Hall has joined North Melbourne, so they now get Pollock Hall. Missed out on the big fish of obviously getting Gaff. but they still add 2 quality players and they get Dom Tyson as well. So Hall's he's so inconsistent. He has so much potential. I mean, as I said, he averaged 27 touches a game in 2016, 25 in 2017. Last year, he fell off to 18. He only played the 6 games, mixture of injury and form. But for what they got him for pick 68, big steal.
Always thought he's a really good player, Aaron Hall, so I think that's a great deal for him.
Absolutely.
I'm sure about his comments saying that.
I mean,
his comments saying that he wants to play finals.
Yeah, finals. Well, North Melbourne were close. But do you think Gold Coast butchered that a bit? 68.
Yeah, I think they just want to get him out of the team of the club.
They just want to start again in general. Just have like a bunch of draft kids starting.
Throw over an hour and
you could
start
just have
again.
the same problem in 3 years. Hall is a really good player, and I know he's inconsistent, but I think he adds a lot to that.
Well, it's not just Stuart Dew that had problems with him. Rodney Eade had the same problems, so obviously it's something that's happened over the years that's one of the reasons why they want to let him go.
Yep, and as we said also, North Melbourne also landed Dom Tyson in exchange for Braden Pruce and a 4th round pick, which at the moment is 62.
Why is Pruce going to Melbourne?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I can't.
He left North
To
Melbourne
go behind Max Gore. Like, for more opportunity.
Maybe he's going to play forward.
Who knows? We've never really seen
that
him
could be the
role.
only thing I could think of.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
An ideal destination for him would have been GWS.
Exactly. Someone that doesn't have a number 1 ruckman, let alone the best ruckman in the game, in a team that only plays one ruckman. It's not like West Coast where they play multiple ruckmen. Like, he is the one ruckman. Anyway, Dan Hanbury has landed at St Kilda. Hanbury and pick 28 head to the Saints. The Swans receive 39 and a future 2nd round pick. Saints also landed Dean Kent as well from Melbourne, one of their depth players. The Swans also got Jackson Thurlow. These are in separate deals, obviously. Hanbury, we talked about it. It didn't cost them too much. Who knows? Maybe they can revive his career, but meh. Bit of a sideways Chris Mayne.
I'm going to...
What would have been the picture for sideways Chris Mayne?
Well, I don't know.
I'm going to give it as a good deal because it's something that St Kilda need is a quality midfielder, and that's what he was. And if he can get back to that form, then that's a great deal.
Yep, exactly. We still have nothing on what the Shield deal
apparently
is.
the Beams deal is close.
Yeah.
So Collingwood fans get it up and about.
So,
you could be signing
he'll be going to West Coast if it's from Trade Radio. He's certainly not going to Collingwood.
No, he wasn't.
They've got no.
I thought he was
joking, Brownie.
I
mean, if he's going to Collingwood, he's going to West Coast.
Blew your horn prematurely,
Really
didn't you,
going
bro?
early.
Went early there, didn't you?
We're going early.
Hold on. If there's one trade
If
there's been one trade we've been looking forward to all night, it's Travis Collier.
Travis Collier, where's he on his way?
There's a good chance he's off to the Fremantle Dockers. He can join the likes of Jesse Hogan and Rory Lobb as
They've
the
now
big
won the
trio.
trade period.
The big trio.
That's a big 3. That's like
Fife, Collier, McCarthy.
I mean, that is up there with like Dangerfield, Selwood, and Ablett.
So that.
And I'll say that the paperwork is officially lodged.
Never won 23.
Essendon receive a future 4th round selection for Travis Collier.
Okay, yeah.
So there you go, Bombers. If there's one thing you get out of the trade period tonight,
Well,
is that
they
you've
also
got
got Shield.
I haven't played 8 games.
That's what they were all wanting.
He's still going to Carlton. Alright, talking about Carlton,
This
Will
is-
Setterfield has joined Carlton for Setterfield and pick 71 in exchange for a future 2nd round pick and 2018 3rd round pick 43 at the moment. Setterfield was obviously a former pick number 5 in 2016. He's been absolutely crippled by injury, had no chance at all to show his potential. He could be really, really good, so to get him for that, take it. It's one of those...
If Saucer's going for
Yeah,
it,
it's like
he
a
knows.
Hearn one for North Melbourne where you never know, it could turn out.
I don't know how
Oh no,
Sauce
I
would
just
know,
saw
so-
this go break it.
Nadia Bartel, Jimmy Bartel's wife, has had a baby number 2.
Oh, well,
Congratulations.
Future father son, if it is a
Well
boy, if it's a girl, then future...
Alright,
Father
the
daughter.
supposed deal for Beams is 2 picks in the 40s, which I would say join together to be the picks for Quainer and Kelly. Go to Collingwood. 2 1st round picks, this year's 1st round pick and next year's 1st round pick, and 56. Go
Not
to
happy.
the Lions.
not happy.
Take it away. Tell us what you think.
Oh, well, I mean, I feel like, as Collingwood supporters have been saying from the start...
Which we're not, by the way.
No, not at all. If
On the
Beam...
Gold Coast.
What do you mean, mate? all about the new Hobart team.
There's no we in sports.
No way in sports.
Exactly.
Except
No,
for-
look, if Beams come into Collingwood, it may have just been a bonus, especially the fact that their priorities would have been re-signing the
Yeah.
likes of Langdon and more amid future interest from
After
them.
they couldn't get May.
Exactly right. So with May out of the picture, the fact that they got Roughhead as well, Beams might be just a bonus in that regard. But on the same token, they're asking for a lot, and they've given a lot. If those figures
that's
are true, I mean, 2 first-round picks. Better not hope next year's draft is a good one because
This one is expected to be better, but I mean, Collingwood is obviously banking on the fact that they're going to be around that top 4 mix again, so it's going to be another late, who knows, 15 to 18 range. That's what they'll be banking on. Yeah.
How long is their premiership window open for?
Beams is 29. They still have a pretty young list. If you look at it, Pendlebury's probably the one player who's a bit more on the older side. Everyone else is still clearly in there. They've still got 4 years. Clear 4 years. 4 to 5 years with that list. There's really no one who's that old. I said Pendlebury's... Yep.
Sorry. Trade paperwork officially lodged. GWS trade Dylan Shield and its future second round selection to Essendon for pick 9 from Essendon and a future round 1 selection. So 2 first round picks, one this year, one next year. Heading to the Giants, Essendon received Dylan Shield and a future second round pick.
So they relented on the 2 first round picks. So yeah, GWS get what they want. They wanted the 2 first rounders. They're going to get pick 9 if Essendon go up like they're expected to next year. But we said the same thing about them last year and they didn't. So, but who knows if they do go up, which you expect is probably going to be 10 and above next year. But for Shield, I think that's a decent return from both sides. I think. Go.
No, keep going.
I was just going to say, from an Essendon perspective, he's that inside midfielder that they so desperately need. Happy man, definitely. And GWS got their 2 first. Brownie we need a paddle from Brownie.
Yeah, come on,
mate.
come on.
There we go. Give us a happy paddle.
Oh,
sad paddle. Yeah.
Brown.
I wonder why.
Brown.
That's my reaction on it.
He got so excited as
He
well.
was
I
so
had
excited.
the alarm
He had
going.
the siren
He
going.
blew his own horn.
With just over 7 minutes to go in
With
this trade
7,
period,
yep.
we've got 2 trades really that we're waiting for, and that's Dane Beams
And Tim
and
Kelly.
Tim Kelly. If anything else comes up, I mean, we had Travis
That's
Collier,
pretty
that's
much
our
it,
main one.
And
but-
Collier and Adams
Roughhead.
and Roughhead both got done, which were those.
Well, what have we
really
made of the
close.
trade period so far? Do we like it or do we not?
Oh, I feel like it's too long. I really do. 9 days, 10 days, however long it's been at the moment. It's just too draining. We're hearing a lot of garbage from a lot of
It's
sources.
just so much speculation.
In my opinion, it should be Monday to Friday. Get it all over and done with. Just get rid of the nonsense. Get all the deals done. I don't see why clubs...
How hard is it to just sit down and figure it out? Really?
It'd probably be easier, because that way they can take the draft back, get that over and done with as well, and by November, clubs know who's on their team, and they can prepare for 2019. That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
Well,
they
I
want
don't
to drag
understand
it
why
out.
they drag it out to the last minute. These clubs
It's,
to make the deals.
you know what it's for? It's to drag it out in the media.
Yeah.
It's for the media
We
to
have another
create content.
trade.
Oh,
And you'll be happy about this, Brownie. Sydney
Nick
trade Nick Newman to Carlton for its future 4th round selection. So you don't get
decent
Dylan Shield,
pickup for a 4th round
you get
selection.
Nick
Yeah.
Newman, which
Left
is
foot
a
off
very,
half
very
back.
good.
It's a decent player.
Yeah, it's okay.
That was some
Get the
solid.
light going, Nick.
Get the light going.
And put the
again.
navy
Here we
blue
go.
light on.
For Nick Newman.
So
It's not a...
Might as well just
Dude.
play for the fans.
There we go.
Nick Newman, everybody. Yeah.
It's not what the other supporters thought they were going to
Nick
get.
Newman.
So just over
It's,
5 minutes left. We're still waiting for 2 deals now.
Yeah,
2 deals.
this Beams one is coming down to the wire. It's been
Oh, yeah.
reported that it's
It's
apparently
going to be a last
done.
minute. It's going to be a last minute.
Oh, Dane Beams' paperwork has been lodged, so it's not 100% official. But if it's been lodged, it's
Yeah,
a
that's a
done
very good
deal.
point.
So. Quickly while we wait for that, we talked about Setterfield. Carlton's now. Look, we talked about the Fazzy boy.
Faz man.
Solo.
Yep,
Lazy boy.
Mr. Fasolo. Now, I thought I'd do some research because he's probably the most important player in this trade period. So we did some research, and this is what I found about the Fazzy boy. So, in 2017, not 2018 obviously, because he only played 1 game, which is why he's leaving Collingwood. In 2017, the Fazzy boy kicked 29 goals. If he played for Carlton in 2017, he would have won your goal kicking.
Wow.
In 2016, the Fazzy boy kicked 25 goals. If he played for Carlton in 2016, he would have led your goal kicking. In 2015, The Fazzy Boy kicked 27 goals. If he played for Carlton in 2015, he would have led your goal kicking. So you just got your new
Big market.
leading goal scorer.
That's
Brendan Favola has stepped to the side because the Fazzy Boy is
There you
here.
go. You might rise from 18 to 17 quickly.
3 wins coming up. That is all happy Chris
Oh,
Main.
yeah,
Hang on,
get it
there's
in,
no,
mate.
come on, Brownie. Give us a happy
Yeah.
Chris Main. There we go. Happy Chris Main for solo. Anything else to add to that?
It's probably going to be in their team in a century.
And I was
That's a
wrong.
big fun.
Collingwood
Oh,
get
since
big.
2000, yeah.
Collingwood.
Team of the
Mate,
millennium.
no,
Yeah.
strip Silvani of that number 1. Give it to the
Oh,
Faz.
here we go.
alright?
Give it to the
It's-
Fazzy
it's-
Boy.
Savani, who?
Collingwood got pick 57 as compensation, so I was wrong earlier when I said it was 37. Some of the other smaller ones, Dre and Lloyd, both Sam Lloyd, both land at
Did you say
Bulldogs.
is small supposed to be a pun because they're both short players?
They are a bit short. George Hall Smith, vertically challenged, you could say. George Hall Smith will join Gold Coast.
Hooray for
All
the
these
Gold
for
Coast.
little- for
Hooray
little
for the
ones.
Gold Coast.
Tyson Stengel, another depth player for the Tigers, on his way out to the
With
Crows.
his cousin Eddie Betts.
Another one, probably. He's never probably going to be the same player. But
It
he's
was
a
either
similar
going to
mould.
yeah, he could be one of those. He's got the talent there like Eddie Betts, but it was either going to be Shea Bolton or Tyson Stengel. One of them would re-sign and one would leave the Tigers.
4 minutes ago, still no sign of a Tim Kelly trade.
Yeah,
at
I
this
I don't
stage.
think Kelly will be
It
It
going.
looks like he might be staying.
Because we saw earlier that they wanted 20 and
Do
22
we-
and a future first. This is what Geelong was requesting for
Do we
Tim
like-
Kelly.
Geelong putting their foot down and telling Kelly that you've got to stay at the club next season? Or
I think they're going to regret it, to be perfectly honest, because I think he's pretty clear he's going to walk there next year, and they could have got. I reckon they could have got 20 and 22. I think it's a bit overs, but I think West Coast would have done
they're
it.
in their premiership window right now.
I know, but were
I
they
don't need
really
picks.
that close? I know. I agree with you in that. But they'd have to be saying we think we can win next
But
year, and I
as-
don't think they made
but
the
I'm-
moves to do that.
Take away Geelong, are they going to win the premiership?
Yeah.
But do we like Geelong putting their foot down and telling a contracted player that he has to stay at the club?
Oh, we'll get to that in a second.
Trade-
Is it?
Well,
Trade
yeah,
paperwork officially lodged. Brisbane trade Dane Beams, pick
Alright.
41 and pick 44
Yeah.
to Collingwood in exchange for pick 18, pick 56, and a future round 1 selection, which is exactly what Daniel you said.
Yeah.
There we go.
Beams is back. Thank you, Brady. Beams is back.
We're all a Collingwood fan.
Do it.
There
Alright,
we
fantastic.
Well,
go.
there you go.
And you know what? I think that might be for the
With
trade.
2 minutes.
I think that's
2 minutes
Probably the
left.
biggest and last
And
probably
he's back.
trade, I think.
He is back in the black and white. Mixed feelings. He's a incredible midfielder. I'll pull his stats up. We know how good he is.
Do you reckon that he's gonna? Wasn't there issues last time with Bucks?
It was a few issues
Apparently
with
they've
that.
been solved according with him still
Oh,
sidelined.
that's a surprise.
Oh,
Oh, they've
so-
been magically solved now that he's back.
Oh, yeah.
Would have never guessed
No,
it.
still Sidebottom was the peacemaker apparently.
Yeah,
so.
well, over his last...
I think being in premiership contention was the peacemaker for that deal.
Solves
Yeah,
solves
so
all.
Say they
Beams-
finished 13th this year. Do you think he would have gone back?
No chance. No.
There you go.
Beams obviously was, so his career high for disposals was in 2012, was back with Collingwood. Last year was his second best year, 29. So, and we know what he can do in terms of his clearances and contested ball work. So he's right around, he certainly hasn't dropped off. As we said, he's 29. Collingwood's midfield now, I would say, is right up there with Geelong's as the best in the comp.
Oh, yeah.
There's
Well,
so much depth.
The Collingwood midfield works together.
Yeah,
The Geelong one,
in
we
both
still don't know
ways.
if it works
In
together.
both
So it's
ways.
by far the best midfield in the
Yeah.
competition.
Barrett has just,
Oh,
Damien Barrett that is,
wow.
has now said that
Purple rain.
the Cats and
Purple
Eagles have broken down in negotiations, which probably means with a minute
Well, with
to
a
go,
minute left, I'd say it's over.
Yeah,
You reckon?
over.
And
You're
so-
telling me there's a chance?
yeah, I'm still a chance.
So obviously, from a Collingwood perspective, this is an interesting one to look at, just from a how you approach two teams, Melbourne and Collingwood. Both of them, one step. You could say Melbourne's 2 steps because it's prelim, but so close to a premiership. Both of them clearly have holes defensively. I think, as I said, Melbourne ranked 9th, Collingwood was 8th. Both of them, Melbourne was 1st, Collingwood was 3rd in attack, so they're fine offensively. It's the defense. Collingwood's decided to go for another elite midfielder who said he wants to come back, and they've decided to re-sign, instead of going out after a Stephen May, re-sign Langdon, re-sign Moore, go out and get a rough head style and bank on Lyndon Dunn and Scharenberg getting back, maybe more keeping healthy, and stick with what you've got, but bolster another area where the Melbourne's gone for their hasn't sat on their laurels by getting one of Beams is a top 15 midfielder in the comp, maybe even top 10. So they haven't sat on their backsides. But Melbourne's been super aggressive and gone, look, we're going to trade probably a top 3 player to get a player we feel is going to help us win a flag. Who's made the right decision in your opinion? Obviously it'll be easy next year. Look back on it. But
Yeah, I know. You know what? I really don't know.
I think we're going to look at Darcy Moore.
Yeah.
On paper, it's great that they re-signed him, but he's got injury problems. We don't know if he's going to break down again next year.
Might be his last opportunity for him.
Because we're talking about him as like this
the thing
superstar
with Darcy,
defender.
though,
He's only played 7 games in defence.
So Darcy played 9 games in his first year, but in 2016-2017 he played 17 and 21 games. It's only last year where he had the big injury concerns. I think people are overreacting a little bit on the injury concerns. He still has the potential to be a seriously good player. He's born 6 months before me and a couple of months before. Like, he's still so young. Like, he's still... I think it was a good deal to sign him up. I think it would have been a steal if the Swans did manage to get him away. Because I think, yes, one bad season's ruined by injury. That sucks. But there's a lot of players who have had bad seasons ruined by injury who came back and been fantastic.
I feel like Jamie Elliott's more of a concern for Collingwood right
Well,
now.
he's the big one in terms of if he can come back and be a 30 to 40 goal kicker to add to that mix. Big
Otherwise-
question.
It's going to be interesting to see Darcy Moore next year.
Yeah.
If the forwards allowed to push defenders in the back now.
Yep.
I think it's been easy since the push in the back rule was implemented. It's easy for players to move into that defensive positioning.
Yep.
But now that they've brought back the hands in the back, it's going to be interesting to see how those players react to it.
Yeah, Brownie, who got closer to a premiership from this trade period, Melbourne or Collingwood?
I like Collingwood's chances.
Yeah.
I don't like. I think Melbourne got better, but I don't like getting rid of Hogan. You don't get rid of
Collingwood
big star forwards. So
Well, yeah, if you compare it like that, Melbourne lost Hogan,
Got
and got May.
Collingwood
lost
its
the solo.
first round. Yeah.
And its
Yeah,
first
but
round.
but
And its
its
first
in all
round.
honesty,
But
its
Collingwood
first
were
round
2
pick was gonna
minutes
be
away
18.
from winning a grand final.
Very true, very true. And who knows if the thing is, if Collingwood, if Lyndon Dunn comes back healthy and you get Scharenberg healthy and more healthy, and miracle happens and Ben Reid plays more than 6 games, they could actually have a good defence.
How many of
It's
those
just
players
so
will come back
injury.
into the team?
Well,
I don't see Ben Reid coming back.
no,
in.
Ben Reid
Yeah,
probably not, but
probably
Lyndon Dunn definitely will.
I
Scharenberg,
think
I think will.
Roughhead is a...
Yeah, I
I'd say
think
that as a
Roughhead's an
steal. I think he's a
underrated
really
pickup.
good player.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly. All right, and the trade period is finished, done.
official.
So really, all the
Back
main
it up.
trades got done except for Tim Kelly. So Tim
Nice.
Kelly will stay a Cat in 2019. Who knows if he'll walk at the end of that?
Oh, he
but
will be.
No, yeah.
I would
For
say
sure.
likely that he will. But all the big ones, as we said, Lachie Neale as a wrap. If you're just joining us now, Lachie Neale joins Brisbane. Dane Beams is back to Collingwood. Jesse Hogan has crossed the Nullarbor to Freo, as has Rory Lobb.
Is that an 8-year
Stephen
deal?
May. Yeah, well, no, that's the deal that
The reported
yeah,
8
yeah.
years, 8 million over 8 years.
Yep, so Stephen May has joined Melbourne. Dylan Shield joined Carlton for a split second and then did a U-turn
Retracted it.
and joined Essendon. Chad Wingard is at Hawthorn next year. Tim Kelly stays put in Geelong. We touched on all the other main ones. That's pretty
That's
much
about
it.
it,
I
And
mean,
we're still unemployed.
we still are. So if you've watched this and thought you want us, you know, we're here.
If you enjoyed this celebrations of Brown,
Yeah, look, Brownie got... It was
and
like...
you want him as a party host,
Brownie was so close.
Get
and
around.
then
He was
completely
ready.
ruined. Look, Ivan,
Oh,
thanks for tuning in. Ivan wants to
Ivan,
know,
you're a
Brownie,
champion.
are you fuming, mate?
no.
He's pretty chill.
Oh, nah.
I don't know what is in that water, but it has got him pretty chill. We
It
might
is.
need
Let's
a
be,
cider in
let's
here
be
to
honest
test it.
here. Let's be honest. No
Yeah.
Carlton fans thought this was even a realistic idea until a few hours this afternoon. It's suddenly the story came out. Carlton were a chance.
Nathan wants to know his Fev signing. What are your chances, do you reckon?
I reckon it's pretty high chance at the
Yeah.
moment.
Bevan the Faz, could you imagine?
Oh, Fev
What a
and the
fool
Faz,
of
what a
one.
tandem that would be.
And Nick Newman.
And Nick Newman lacing out to
Oh,
Fazzy boy,
dude.
who goes big to the square. to fifth. All right, and Ivan also, how do you think the Pies will go next year? Look, they're going to be right there again. You had Beams
you
in.
probably assume they would contend again. For
It's health in that defensive lineup. It's all just down to health.
Surely they can't have a worse injury list than they have.
Well, we've seen the last two, we saw Adelaide in the year they, lost the grand final, and they had one of the best injury, they did have the best injury list in the league. The year later, same list, we know the camp happened, but they got destroyed by injury. Look what happened. We saw, so it does bring back bad memories. But overall, I think it's just going to come down.
And they're also going to have a harder fixture next year.
Yep.
Plus, there's also going to be, I think next year it's going to be even harder to win a premiership because there's going to be so many teams up there. Essendon with Scully and Shield could be up there. Hawthorn as well. So it's going to be even more difficult to win a premiership next year. So we don't know.
Yep.
Unless Brown knows.
Brown, do you know?
No idea. I don't have the crystal ball out, so...
No crystal ball. All right. That is all we've got. You know what? We'll go before we go. I'll put everyone on the spot a little bit.
All right,
so, if you were going to give a winner and a loser out of the trade period, who would it be? If anyone's got it on the top of their head, they can go. If not, I'll draw the short straw and start. Go. That was a bit of a handoff.
I would say winner.
Yep.
Freo.
Well, they got the key forward. They finally wanted.
I really like what Port Adelaide's done.
Yep. So you would go Freo or Port as your
Brisbane.
Winner. And Brisbane.
Everyone did well.
Lots of winners. Yeah, I think definitely. For me, it's Freo. Just because you finally got your full forward. Yes, you gave up a lot for him, but you got your full forward, and you got, in my opinion, a really talented ruckman in Lobb. I like Lobb. I think he's really good. There's finally some losing Lachie Neale hurts big time. But let's be honest, right now you need to get your key pillars right, and Fremantle just got their key pillars right.
And there's still those young midfielders as well.
Exactly, they still have a lot of the Chera, a lot of the youngsters still there that have a lot of potential going forward. But they needed a Hogan style if they really wanted to progress with a solid spine, and they just got it. So I think healthy Nat Fyfe next year, Hogan, big winners for sure. And yeah, Port not as big name, but I like it. You got a winner.
All right, so I've got two for the winners. You got to do Collingwood, and only because hold on.
Sorry, justify yourself.
They managed to re-sign Langdon. They managed to re-sign Moore, as we've said. They haven't been able to lose anyone except for Faz. Obviously, that's pretty disappointing. But they've able to also sign Beams.
We really missed
Beams and Roughhead, which is absolutely outstanding, and I agree with you in Fremantle. I reckon that.
And the one we just missed with Fremantle was they got Travis Collier.
Travis Collier. Oh no! I thought we confirmed it.
We're going to figure. But Essendon also won it. Getting Dylan Shield.
Yeah. There's a lot of winners.
Are we still doing?
Yeah, keep going with winners.
No. I've gone.
You've done all your winners. So I think that's across. I would say Essendon definitely winners. Scully, Shield. I would say said Port winners.
I reckon University as well.
Yeah, University.
They're now not the worst team.
They're on the way.
Ever in the competition. I'll say Gold Coast
Fremantle's definite winners. I think the Port one might be controversial just because losing Wingard, but I think going forward they've really helped themselves. And Collingwood getting Beams is huge. Brisbane landing Lachie Neale. I know losing Beams hurts, but Lachie Neale's a huge steal. And Marcus Adams as well. The losers...
Can I start?
Yeah.
Hang on, Brown hasn't said he's
Brownie. Winners.
I would have to agree with you with Freo.
Yeah.
I reckon the underrated was North. I reckon they picked up, even though they didn't get the big fish, they got some solid big tuna.
They still got Hall, Tyson, so that's
I think they're underrated. People underrated what they've done.
Especially, I think Pollock in Victoria will get a little bit more credit. I mean, he's a really good player, and he's got the credit he deserves, but I think he can go to the next level. So yeah, I like that one. Oh. Very good, Brownie. Cold.
Clearly Sydney. I can't say
good on you,
Sydney, I reckon had a really
cleared cap space like they were going to do something big.
Well, yeah, they've lost Rowan, they've lost Hanbury, they've lost Nick Newman in the last hour, and their first pick in the draft's not till pick 26. So they're not really going for anything in the draft sense. They haven't really got anyone to not even replace, but just to have someone else.
They went hard at Moore. They went hard at Langdon.
Yeah, it's a F for me. It's a fail.
It's a fail.
Just as Terry Wallace said, because I feel like they just needed someone else just to stabilise it a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, they just needed someone to go. Yeah, they got Thurlow. They needed someone to go with Franklin. That's their biggest problem.
Is that Sam Reid deal? That was the deal that screwed them because they gave so much money to Sam Reid. Yeah. He hasn't been able to play for 3 years.
It's going to be the exact same problem they had last year. Cold, other than Sydney.
Gold Coast.
Yeah, that's the obvious one.
I'll give you one.
Yeah.
Richmond. I think losing the players that they have lost, Alice, Miles, Lloyd as well. And even Stengel. That's squad depth there.
Yeah.
That they're not going to get back.
It's only if Richmond get injuries. That's where if Richmond doesn't get injuries, it's a massive win because they got Tom Lynch.
Yep, but that ruck position as well. That's another area where we've seen them struggle. If Nankervis gets injured,
this is a reverse jinx right here.
Maybe they should have gone for Bruce
again.
Reverse jinx. No, Bruce would have been an interesting one. They could have maybe gone for Brownie, Cold. Any other ideas?
I'm going to go with GWS because they've got all that talent and they'll let it go. If they don't get this year is crucial for them. If they don't get it,
now if they don't get Kelly, the thing is if they get Kelly and Canidio's signature, I think you can cop the losses. But if they lose one of them now, it's a huge loss. As I said, it was about clearing cap space, but they're losing A-grade talent very quickly. And as we Setterfield as well, we don't know what he could have turned out to be. So
Carlton's going to find that out.
Sorry, you got something?
Yeah.
Oh no, I just want to say one more. It's the Australian cricket team. You think the AFL?
Here we go.
AFL trade period? You reckon that we haven't been able to see what they're doing? They're 9 for 142 at the moment.
They were 5 for 80.
Stark's 31 not out at the moment.
Can we just praise the Marsh brothers?
Yeah, Marsh brothers.
Both of them failing again. Mitch Marsh.
Love it. I love it. How
I tell you what, bring back those sledges. Bring them back. You need some sledges in the team. You need some ball
Where's
temperers.
warning?
You just need warning.
But anyway, just thought I'd let you know that.
Alright, thanks.
I think
our Cold. I think that's definitely Gold Coast and GWS definitely. And I like the Swans one as well because they went to do something. Adelaide, I would say if they don't get, I would not be surprised if Adelaide are one of the teams who live trade on draft night. I think they're really high on Lukosius and Rankin, and they're going to try and get to 2 or 3 with Gold Coast. So they didn't get it done now. If they get something done live trading, it's okay. But
otherwise, draft picks you can trade.
Yeah, I know.
So what draft picks?
I don't know. To
me,
that's a bit of a loss. To me, that's a bit of a loss. So Carlton, I don't know. But otherwise, the Victorian clubs. Collingwood has said tick. There's so many that we'll have to go through off the top of the head. I said Hawthorn, I don't know. They're geeing up for a push at the flag. I'm not sure if they're right there yet. Alright, I think that's about it. There's nothing else, no late paperwork that got pushed through or anything to go through.
Breaking news, Shield's going to Carlton.
Oh, wait.
No. That would be a massive change.
Hang on.
Spelled it wrong. Alright, thank you very much for tuning in and for your comments and questions. We got some, thank you. If you've got to this point in particular, thanks for listening. From myself, from Nicholas, from Christopher, and from Mr. 28-inch Pythons, and of course, from Mr. Chris Main himself. Give us a siren. Do you have it up to go out with, or have you shut the tab?
Nah, that's always there.
Give us a siren to go out with. Alrighty, that is going to be our last episode, the last Don't Argue episode of 2018. That is it. That is it. We're going to be back. If we are unemployed, we will be back next year. If we're not here, we got jobs. So
we're going to do another podcast.
Yeah, we're doing another one.
Something else we could do. Equestrian.
Well, you love
we've got to get the equestrian podcast.
You're going to get me in trouble with my cousin again. Alright, so thank you for listening, and we will see you next year. And now Chris is going to entertain you for 5 seconds.
He's got the lights there.
Inquiries.
2,500. Is it still going?
Yes.
Oh no.